Here on the campus of Tulane University, the green wave are rolling, but that's not the case at the lakefront. UNO has struggled post-Katrina.
Sports anchor Sharif Ishak tells us why New Orleans' two Division I universities have gone in different directions 10 years after Katrina.
May 3rd, 2005, Tulane and UNO squared off at Zephyr Field in a baseball game that was a true nail-biter. The Wave won a thriller 7-6. And that was the last time these two universities were close in athletics.
This is the levee that broke, and this is the flow of the water.
Since Katrina, Tulane has rebounded in a big way, spending over $100 million on new stadiums like Turchin and Yulman, as well as new facilities. They've also added new sports like beach volleyball and bowling. But on the lakefront, things have never been the same for UNO. It's been a struggle to keep athletics afloat. So, why are two schools that were pretty close 10 years ago going in opposite directions?
Before Katrina, the UNO job, and I'd had some pretty good jobs, but the UNO job was the most fun I ever had. It was terrific.
Jim Miller was UNO athletics director from 2003 to 2009. He said the athletes and coaches like Tom Walter and Monty Tao were excited to be at UNO, and everything was headed in a very positive direction.
We were making our budget. You know, we had 17,300 students at UNO, and living off student fees, that's sufficient. That's enough revenue to do what we wanted to do.
And then Katrina moved into the Gulf.
Actually, I'd stopped by City Park to do a little chipping on the driving range. Tim Ryan, the chancellor, had called a meeting of his staff, senior staff, on Saturday morning. And he said, you know, this is going to be, looks like a pretty bad storm, as we all knew. But he says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to shut down for the weekend, and then hopefully we'll convene on Monday.
Katrina ravaged UNO's lakefront campus. So returning to the lakefront on Monday for Miller and the staff never happened.
We all moved to Baton Rouge. We tried to run the campus out of there, tried to make plans.
Other universities around the country welcomed privateer teams to their campuses for the fall semester. So student athletes were scattered all over the country, from Shreveport to Tyler, Texas, and as far west as New Mexico.
After a while, we learned that we could get back in January, which we did, but then we had all the issues of housing, and the facilities were still not up. We couldn't play in our arena, which turned out to be the biggest problem because we were out of our arena for three years. We probably lost almost half the student body.
The school went from an enrollment of 17,000 to 8,000, which really hurt the athletics, as UNO went from 15 to 6 programs.
We didn't know if the student enrollment would come back.
In the years following the storm, UNO athletics found some success. The baseball team made the NCAA tournament in back-to-back years in 2007 and 2008. So university leaders tried to get the votes to pass a student fee increase, but they fell short.
I saw a lot of tears from the athletes, men and women, and it was sad because I was tearing up myself. Ron Maestri, who was at that press conference, got in front of the mic, and I saw him tearing up.
I don't hear the legislature, I don't hear the Board of Supervisors, I hear nobody talking about the University of New Orleans, and it upsets me.
And after the vote failed in 2009, Miller retired as athletics director of UNO because he couldn't see a direction, and the direction former President Tim Ryan wanted to go was down, dropping from Division I to non-scholarship Division III.
I didn't come here to get us exactly like we were before Katrina. I came here to move us further along than before Katrina.
Peter Foss has been UNO president since 2012. And a few months into his new role, the UNO graduate stopped the university from going ahead with the planned move of dropping down.
After a great deal of thought, due diligence, speaking to everyone I could talk to, including NCAA, I decided that we had to remain Division I.
UNO would eventually find a new home in the Southland Conference in the 2013 and 2014 academic year. UNO currently has 14 programs operating on a $5.5 million budget, one of the lowest in the country. And getting the money hasn't been easy, but Foss and his staff have gotten the job done.
No money comes from the general fund athletics, which is very unusual. They do it all on sponsors, ticket sales, and they actually have an endowment that helps them run the organization.
And remember that fee that didn't get enough votes in 2009? Well, the students have come around.
My students on campus are clamoring to the opportunity to have an election, a referendum to have a fee. So I'm optimistic that we can get more support from the students.
But will they ever get near the level playing field of Tulane again?
Tulane's situation has always been ahead of the curve because they can make their own decisions. UNO's situation has always been that they're behind the curve, and a lot of times they get kicked to the curb.
Public or private, no one was spared the wrath of Hurricane Katrina. The Green Wave Athletic Department was also kicked to the curb.
Basically, we knew we were looking at a train wreck. You know, our campus had incurred over $700 million of damage.
Rick Dixon has been Tulane's athletic director for 16 years, and he saw that damage carry over to the athletics as they dropped from 16 to 8 programs.
Well, probably one of the darkest days, you know, for me. You like being part of providing opportunity for young people. In this instance, we were forced to take away opportunity, and when you see the, you know, the heartbreak and pain that comes with that, that's a difficult thing.
2 of the sports they dropped that never came back were men's golf and women's soccer. But Dixon had a 5-year master plan that would push athletics in an even better direction.
It wasn't like flipping a switch. People had to make commitments, had to donate money. The university had to make a conscious decision. This is where we want to go. It would have been very easy, you know, when you're flat on your back, just to go the other way and say it wasn't meant to be.
But it was meant to be. And it all started in the spring of 2008 when they brought back women's tennis and women's swimming and diving.
Being at those first events, you know, gave us that hope, you know, that we all needed. It was like seeing the first house or office building reopen and those things. You know, it was an important step, you know, in the healing and the rebuilding of this thing.
Personally, the healing process for Dixon is ongoing. Professionally, his athletic department is completely healed. In the last 10 years, through university support and private donations, Tulane has been able to build Turchin Stadium, Yulman Stadium, the Hurt Center, and revitalize Devlin Fieldhouse. On top of that, Tulane is up to 15 sports. And since joining the American Athletic Conference, most estimate the operating budget for Green Wave Athletics is between $40 and $50 million annually.
There probably hasn't been a day in that 10 years that I don't think of those kids and the people, you know, that sacrificed and felt like, you know what, I've got a responsibility to them. Because when somebody puts it all on the line and it's taken away, you know, that carves a deep hole in you, and I just felt responsible, you know, to bring that back and in a way that we've never been able to do here.
And November 6th is going to be a special day for Dixon and Tulane. The entire 2005-2006 Hurricane Katrina class will get inducted into the Tulane Athletics Hall of Fame. That's 308 student athletes. As for UNO, Peter Foss says they're thinking about adding football in the coming years, which would create a lot of revenue for the school and athletics. Scott?
Other local college programs have rebuilt in the years following Hurricane Katrina. Dillard's Dent Hall, home of the Blue Devils men's and women's basketball teams, was completely renovated. Xavier University built a state-of-the-art arena, and Delgado rebuilt its baseball field and added lights.
Still to come, the changing face of our community and the games we play when Katrina 10 years forward continues.